Literature and philosophy are two of humanity's most profound intellectual pursuits. While literature typically engages with the world through narrative, metaphor, and emotional resonance, philosophy grapples with abstract concepts, logical reasoning, and the search for truth. Despite their differences, these disciplines have a long history of intersection and mutual influence, often culminating in works that are as much philosophical treatises as they are literary masterpieces. This video explores the culmination of literature and philosophy, examining how these disciplines interact, influence, and enrich each other. It also considers the ways in which this interplay shapes human understanding and the pursuit of meaning. The relationship between literature and philosophy can be traced back to ancient times. In the Western tradition, one of the earliest and most significant examples is found in the works of Plato. While primarily a philosopher, Plato's dialogues are also literary works of considerable merit. The Republic, for instance, is not only a foundational text in political philosophy, but also a complex narrative that explores justice, power, and the human condition through the allegory of the cave and the myth of Ur. Plato's use of dialogue, characters, and storytelling blurs the line between philosophy and literature, demonstrating that the two can coexist and complement each other. Similarly, in the Eastern tradition, the ancient Indian epics Mahabharata and Ramayana are rich in philosophical discourse. These texts, while primarily narrative in form, explore deep philosophical questions about duty, righteousness, and the nature of reality. The Bhagavad Gita, part of the Mahabharata, is a philosophical dialogue between Prince Arjuna and the god Krishna, addressing existential dilemmas and the ethics of war. The Gita, like Plato's works, uses a narrative structure to convey complex philosophical ideas, illustrating the potential for literature to serve as a vehicle for philosophical exploration. One of the key ways in which literature and philosophy intersect is through the use of narrative. Narrative allows philosophy to be more accessible, engaging, and relatable, providing a means to illustrate abstract concepts through concrete examples. This is evident in the works of philosophers such as Søren Kierkegaard and Friedrich Nietzsche, who often employed narrative techniques to convey their ideas. Kierkegaard's use of pseudonyms and fictionalized characters in works like Either Or and Fear and Trembling allows him to explore different perspectives and the subjective nature of truth. By adopting different voices and narrative forms, Kierkegaard creates a multifaceted exploration of existential themes, making his philosophy more dynamic and resonant. Nietzsche, in works like Thus Spoke Zarathustra, uses the figure of Zarathustra as a literary device to explore his philosophical ideas. The book is structured as a series of parables and aphorisms, blending poetic language with philosophical discourse and challenging the reader to engage with the ideas on a deeper, more personal level. Narrative also plays a crucial role in the philosophical tradition of phenomenology. Phenomenologists like Maurice Merleau-Ponty and Jean-Paul Sartre use narrative to explore the lived experience of consciousness, perception, and being. Sartre's Nausea and Being and Nothingness are prime examples of how narrative can be used to delve into existential themes, with the former being a novel that serves as an existential meditation on freedom, absurdity, and the self. Literature not only serves to illustrate philosophical ideas, but can also be a medium for philosophical inquiry in its own right. Some literary works are so rich in philosophical content that they can be considered as philosophical texts themselves. This is evident in the works of authors like Fyodor Dostoevsky, Albert Camus, and Franz Kafka, whose novels are often studied as much for their philosophical insights as for their literary merits. Dostoevsky's The Brothers Karamazov is a profound exploration of faith, doubt, and moral responsibility. Through the characters of Ivan and Alyosha Karamazov, Dostoevsky delves into the philosophical debates surrounding the existence of God, the problem of evil, and the nature of free will. The novel's famous Grand Inquisitor chapter is a philosophical dialogue in itself, questioning the relationship between freedom and authority and the role of religion in human society. Albert Camus, in works like The Stranger and The Myth of Sisyphus, uses literature to explore the concept of absurdity and the human condition. Camus' protagonists often grapple with the meaninglessness of existence and the inevitability of death, reflecting his philosophical stance on the absurd. The narrative form allows Camus to illustrate his ideas in a way that is both intellectually stimulating and emotionally resonant, engaging the reader in a philosophical dialogue through the medium of fiction. Franz Kafka's works, such as The Trial and The Metamorphosis, are rich in existential and absurdist themes, exploring the alienation, anxiety, and helplessness of the individual in a seemingly indifferent or hostile world. Kafka's use of surreal and nightmarish scenarios serves as a metaphorical exploration of philosophical questions about identity, power, and the human condition, making his works a fertile ground for philosophical analysis. The form of literature itself can have philosophical implications. The structure, style, and language of a literary work can reflect and reinforce its philosophical content, creating a deeper synergy between form and meaning. This is evident in the works of modernist and postmodernist writers who often experiment with narrative structure and language to explore philosophical themes. James Joyce's Ulysses is a quintessential example of how literary form can be used to convey philosophical ideas. The novel's stream of consciousness technique, fragmented narrative, and linguistic experimentation reflect the complexity and multiplicity of human experience. Joyce's exploration of consciousness, identity, and the nature of time in Ulysses is deeply philosophical, and the novel's innovative form challenges the reader to engage with these themes in new and unconventional ways. In postmodern literature, authors like Thomas Pynchon and Italo Calvino use metafiction and self-referential narratives to question the nature of reality, truth, and authorship. Pynchon's Gravity's Rainbow, with its sprawling, non-linear narrative and complex interplay of characters and ideas, reflects the chaotic and fragmented nature of modern life, echoing philosophical concerns about the limits of knowledge and the instability of meaning. Calvino's If on a Winter's Night, a Traveller is a metafictional exploration of the act of reading and the relationship between the reader, the text, and the author, raising philosophical questions about subjectivity, interpretation, and the construction of reality. The relationship between literature and philosophy is not only evident in the creation of literary works, but also in their interpretation and analysis. Philosophical approaches to literary criticism have profoundly influenced the way literature is studied and understood. The application of philosophical theories to literature has opened up new avenues for interpretation, enriching our understanding of both the text and the philosophical ideas it engages with. One of the most influential philosophical approaches to literary criticism is existentialism. Existentialist philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir applied their philosophical ideas to the analysis of literature, viewing literary works as expressions of existential themes such as freedom, authenticity, and the absurd. Sartre's essays on writers like Baudelaire and Genet explore the existential dimensions of their works, examining how their characters and narratives reflect the existential struggles of the individual. Another significant philosophical influence on literary criticism is structuralism and post-structuralism. Philosophers like Roland Barthes, Michel Foucault, and Jacques Derrida applied structuralist and post-structuralist theories to the study of literature, challenging traditional notions of authorship, meaning, and interpretation. Barthes' concept of the death of the author and Derrida's theory of deconstruction have had a profound impact on literary theory, shifting the focus from the author's intent to the reader's interpretation and the inherent instability of meaning in texts. Psychoanalytic theory, particularly the work of Sigmund Freud and Jacques Lacan, has also influenced literary criticism, offering new insights into the psychological dimensions of literature. Freud's theories of the unconscious, repression, and the Oedipus complex have been applied to the analysis of literary characters, plots, and themes, revealing the deeper psychological undercurrents in literary works. Lacan's reinterpretation of Freud's ideas through the lens of structuralism and language theory has further enriched psychoanalytic literary criticism, providing new tools for exploring the complex interplay between language, desire, and identity in literature. The culmination of literature and philosophy is not only an intellectual pursuit, but also an ethical and political one. Literature and philosophy have long been concerned with questions of justice, morality, and the human condition, and their intersection often serves to illuminate and challenge the ethical and political dimensions of these issues. In works of political philosophy, literature often serves as a means of exploring and critiquing political ideologies and structures. George Orwell's 1984 and Aldous Huxley's Brave New World are classic examples of how literature can be used to engage with political philosophy, offering dystopian visions that critique totalitarianism, state control, and the loss of individual freedom. These novels are not only literary works, but also philosophical explorations of the implications of political power and the ethical dilemmas it creates. Philosophy, in turn, has influenced the ethical dimensions of literature, providing frameworks for understanding and evaluating the moral issues presented in literary works. The application of ethical theories such as utilitarianism, deontology, and virtue ethics to literature allows for a deeper exploration of the moral questions that literature often raises. For instance, in Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky, the protagonist Raskolnikov grapples with the ethical implications of his actions after committing a murder. The novel explores themes of guilt, redemption, and moral relativism, posing questions about the nature of justice and the possibility of moral absolution. By applying ethical theories to the analysis of Raskolnikov's character and choices, readers can gain a deeper understanding of the novel's exploration of the human condition and the complexities of moral judgment. Similarly, literary works that engage with issues of social justice, such as Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird or Toni Morrison's Beloved, are often analyzed through the lens of moral and political philosophy. These works challenge readers to confront the realities of racism, inequality, and historical trauma, while also raising questions about the ethical responsibilities of individuals and societies. By engaging with these texts philosophically, readers are encouraged to reflect on the broader ethical and political implications of the stories they tell and the worlds they depict. The interplay between literature and philosophy is also evident in the way literature can serve as a form of ethical and political critique. Satirical works, such as Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels or Joseph Heller's Catch-22, use humor and irony to critique societal norms, political institutions, and ethical inconsistencies. These works operate on multiple levels, offering both a literary and philosophical critique of the world they depict. Swift's satirical portrayal of human folly and Heller's absurd depiction of the bureaucratic nightmare of war invite readers to question the ethical foundations of the societies and systems in which they live. Moreover, post-colonial literature, informed by the philosophies of thinkers like Frantz Fanon and Edward Said, often critiques the legacies of colonialism and imperialism. Works like Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart and Salman Rushdie's Midnight's Children challenge the narratives of colonialism and explore the ethical and political consequences of cultural domination and resistance. These texts engage with philosophical questions about identity, power, and the ethics of representation, offering a space for marginalized voices to be heard and for alternative narratives to be explored. The philosophical exploration of human experience through literature by its very nature, is a reflection of human experience, and it often serves as a medium for exploring the philosophical dimensions of that experience. Themes such as love, death, suffering, and the search for meaning are central to both literature and philosophy, and the intersection of these disciplines allows for a richer and more nuanced exploration of these universal concerns. In the works of existentialist writers like Albert Camus and Jean-Paul Sartre, literature becomes a means of grappling with the existential questions of life, freedom, and the absurd. Camus' The Plague and Sartre's No Exit are not just literary narratives, but also philosophical meditations on the human condition. These works explore the tension between the individual and the collective, the search for meaning in a seemingly indifferent universe, and the existential struggle for authenticity and self-definition. Through their literary forms, these authors invite readers to engage with the philosophical ideas that underpin their stories, blurring the lines between narrative and philosophical inquiry. The exploration of human experience through literature also extends to the realm of metaphysics and the philosophy of time. Marcel Proust's In Search of Lost Time is a monumental work that delves into the nature of memory, time, and identity. Proust's intricate narrative structure, with its fluid movement between past and present, reflects his philosophical exploration of how memory shapes our experience of time and our sense of self. The novel's meditation on the elusive nature of time and the quest for lost experiences resonates with philosophical inquiries into the nature of consciousness and the temporality of human existence. In a different vein, the works of Virginia Woolf, such as Mrs. Dalloway and To the Lighthouse, offer a literary exploration of consciousness and perception, engaging with philosophical questions about the nature of reality and the subjective experience of time. Woolf's stream of consciousness technique and her focus on the inner lives of her characters create a rich tapestry of thoughts, emotions, and impressions, inviting readers to reflect on the philosophical implications of her narrative choices. Her works challenge traditional notions of narrative and time, offering a literary parallel to the philosophical explorations of phenomenology and the nature of subjective experience. The role of philosophy in shaping literary movements. Philosophy has also played a significant role in shaping various literary movements, influencing the themes, styles, and concerns of different periods in literary history. Romanticism, for example, was deeply influenced by the philosophy of Immanuel Kant and the German idealists, who emphasized the importance of the individual, the imagination, and the subjective experience of reality. The Romantic poets such as William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge drew on these philosophical ideas to explore themes of nature, beauty, and the sublime, as well as the inner life of the individual. Their works reflect a philosophical engagement with the nature of reality and the role of the artist in capturing the essence of human experience. In the modernist period, the influence of philosophy is evident in the works of writers like T.S. Eliot, James Joyce, and Virginia Woolf, who were shaped by the philosophical ideas of Friedrich Nietzsche, Henri Bergson, and Sigmund Freud. Modernist literature is characterized by its experimental forms, fragmented narratives, and a focus on the inner workings of the mind. These features reflect the philosophical concerns of the time, particularly with regard to the nature of reality, the role of the unconscious, and the challenges of representing the complexities of modern life. The modernist movement, with its emphasis on breaking away from traditional forms and exploring new modes of expression, can be seen as a literary response to the philosophical upheavals of the early 20th century. Postmodernism, too, has been profoundly influenced by philosophy, particularly by the ideas of post-structuralist thinkers like Jacques Derrida, Michel Foucault, and Jean-François Lyotard. Postmodern literature often challenges the boundaries between fiction and reality, embracing ambiguity, paradox, and the instability of meaning. Works like Thomas Pynchon's The Crying of Lot 49 and Don DeLillo's White Noise reflect the postmodern philosophical preoccupation with the collapse of grand narratives, the fluidity of identity, and the pervasive influence of media and technology on contemporary life. These works engage with philosophical questions about the nature of reality, the construction of meaning, and the relationship between language and power, using literary techniques to explore and critique the philosophical ideas of their time. The ongoing dialogue between literature and philosophy. The culmination of literature and philosophy is not a static or one-time event, but rather an ongoing dialogue that continues to evolve and shape both disciplines. As new philosophical ideas emerge, they inspire new forms of literary expression, while literature in turn offers fresh perspectives on philosophical questions and concerns. This dynamic interplay enriches both fields, allowing them to grow and develop in response to each other. In contemporary literature, the influence of philosophy is still evident, with writers like David Foster Wallace, Zadie Smith, and Haruki Murakami engaging with philosophical themes in their works. Wallace's Infinite Jest is a sprawling exploration of addiction, entertainment, and the search for meaning in a consumer-driven society, drawing on philosophical ideas from existentialism to postmodernism. Smith's White Teeth explores issues of identity, multiculturalism, and the legacy of colonialism, engaging with philosophical questions about race, history, and the nature of cultural memory. Murakami's surreal narratives, such as Kafka on the Shore and the First Quarter of '84, delve into the nature of reality, consciousness, and the human condition, blending philosophical inquiry with rich and imaginative storytelling. The ongoing dialogue between literature and philosophy is also evident in the rise of interdisciplinary fields such as narrative ethics and the philosophy of literature, which explore the ethical and philosophical dimensions of storytelling and the role of literature in shaping our understanding of the world. These fields draw on both literary and philosophical traditions, offering new insights into the ways in which stories shape our ethical and philosophical perspectives. Conclusion. The culmination of literature and philosophy represents a rich and complex interplay between two of humanity's most profound modes of understanding. Throughout history, literature has served as a medium for philosophical exploration, while philosophy has shaped the themes, forms, and concerns of literary works. This dynamic relationship has produced some of the most enduring and impactful works of human culture, offering insights into the nature of reality, the human condition, and the ethical and political challenges of our time. As we continue to engage with the intersection of literature and philosophy, we are reminded of the power of stories to illuminate philosophical truths and the ability of philosophical inquiry to deepen our appreciation of literature. The ongoing dialogue between these disciplines enriches our understanding of both, offering new ways of seeing, thinking, and imagining the world. Whether through the philosophical depth of a novel, the narrative power of a philosophical treatise, or the ethical and political implications of a literary work, the culmination of literature and philosophy remains a vital and ever-evolving field of inquiry, one that continues to shape our understanding of what it means to be human. Make the background music quiet and soft.